Hi everyone, I welcome you all to this tool event during Oslo Innovation Week, and I hope you have your coffee cups ready because we are going to talk about social sustainability and how we can push responsible produce to save people and the planet. Today we have 4 fantastic companies represented here today, which all promote responsible produce in different ways. And I will hear different, and you will hear different point of views from both suppliers and buyers in regards to the barriers and opportunities that exist with production of goods in today's linear economy. So I want to start with a quick round of introduction. First and foremost, I would let Birgit Leoden from Tool represent herself.
Hi everyone, my name is Birgit. I am the founder and CEO of the Ocean Opportunity Lab, which is an ecosystem initiative to matchmake the grassroots of ocean entrepreneurs with the established resources in the industry. And we focus both on the environmental sustainability, but also, of course, on the social aspects.
Lars Urheim from OP.
Yeah, OP is a circular economy furniture manufacturer, and we create solutions to make better and more productive workplaces while also cleaning up the planet.
And last but not least, Will Pearson from Ocean Bottle.
Hi everyone, great to be here. Yes, I'm Will Pearson, CEO and co-founder of Ocean Bottle. We make reusable products that help save our oceans. And the main focus is to allow individuals to have an impact on the ocean plastic crisis on a global scale. So each of our products funds collection of 11.4 kilograms of plastic, equivalent to 1,000 plastic bottles. And we actually have a smart chip in each bottle, which will fund more plastic collection in the future.
Thank you so much. And my name is Cecilie Kjellsberg. I'm going to guide you through this conversation today. I'm the co-founder and CEO of the company Better Living Projects. We deliver sustainable textile products to companies in Norway and Europe by producing responsibly in India. So we have our own little textile production in the northeast of India, and this is how we create job opportunities for women there. We work towards a world where every woman is financially independent. So let's go over to the first topic, long-lasting products. For us in Better Living, we have worked hard to ensure a long-lasting product. And the reason for that is because every product that we make has a story to it. You know, every single product is made with care, and we want our customers to actually fall in love with the product and want to give it a very long-lasting life. So let's start with OP. Could you please tell us why a long-lasting product is so important to you and how this impacts the ocean?
Yes, so huge question. And to give you kind of a background from the Scandinavian design tradition, long-lasting products has been kind of the focus of the industry since forever, more or less, since we started. And that has, of course, been a benefit and good for the environment because it reduces consumption and it reduces the number of use cycles related to a function. But another issue that we've tried to solve is that the needs that you cover with this product are not a static one. So needs are dynamic, they change all the time. And the furniture system you see behind me is our solution to that. We might make dynamic furniture. So when your needs change, you change your furniture. And that means that every time you change, we don't need to produce new components. We don't need to transport them, and they don't create waste. And that's kind of the essence of why long-lasting products are important. And the challenge of long-lasting in the plastic, in relation to plastic and the ocean, is that plastic is very long-lasting. And if the product's lifetime isn't aligned with the material that it's made of, then you have an even bigger problem just for making long-lasting products. A long-lasting product is not the answer alone. You actually have to align your material use with the lifetime of your product, and then you have to take full responsibility of what happens afterwards.
Yeah, because is there such a thing as sustainable products, or do you think we might just delay the problem?
You know, I love that question. I find it really hard to argue for consuming our way out of the climate crisis or the nature crisis. So, yeah, I would argue that no, there is no such thing as a sustainable product in itself, but you can actually build systems that reduce the impact to zero, and maybe also with a positive environmental impact, which is what we've been trying to do. But consumption in itself is not sustainable, no.
Yeah, thank you for that. And Will, from Ocean Bottle, you also produce new products, right? Could you tell us how you make sure that the product lasts for a long time, and how does it impact the ocean?
Yes, I think Lars has actually covered that topic beautifully, and almost couldn't add anything else, to be honest. But yeah, I think the question around you know, making products to last a long time is a great question, because it's all very well cutting out single-use products, but if you then buy a lifestyle product, you know, take for example our bottle, if you buy this and then you have it for 5 years, and then what happens to it then, right? It has the potential to become delayed landfill. So, it's a huge risk, and that's why it's so important to design for repair, design for recyclability, and to basically close the loop with these products. And just coming back to your question around making a product from plastic, that is fundamentally the core of the issue. You know, we made products from plastic to last such a long time because it was such a cheap material to use, but we didn't think about the consequences, and we use it obviously for everything.
Yeah, so should we stop producing new plastic?
So I love that question, because a lot of people might think, particularly because I work, you know, heavily within ocean plastics, that I might say we need to eradicate all plastic. Like, if you look at a car, for example, a car on average has sort of 300 kilograms of plastic in it, which makes it lighter, cheaper to produce. It has a lower footprint as a result of using that material. But then you look at other applications like wrapping. It's like Lars said about applying the right material for the right use case. Why are we wrapping a salad in a material that lasts for 400 years, right? So 40% of plastics are single use, and you're literally using them for a split second, and then they end up in typically in landfill. So we have an opportunity there to introduce reusable products in that category, but also compostable materials. And then in parallel to that, you have sort of the lifestyle products like the furniture, like cars and so on, where it's, and our bottles, where it's so important that we ensure you know, what happens at the end of life. Is it going to become a new bottle? Is it going to be repaired? What happens then?
That's a very big question too. And what's so exciting with your product is that you actually replace plastic bottles, the use of plastic bottles. So that's also very nice thing. Birgit, how do you and Tool ensure that you use long-lasting products?
Well, first of all, when we established Tool, Tool is defined with the ambition to be a regenerative company and to work for a regenerative society, which means that we aim to make sure that our industry becomes emission-free and waste-free, and that we regenerate more resources and life into the ecosystem, than what we take out. But from our side, it has been an exciting project because we work a lot and focus a lot on reuse. So we had the ambition with Tool, first of all, of course, that we basically just said that we will not have any single-use plastic on board or ship. But we have also very specifically gone into contact with suppliers that provide upcycling and redesign and reuse, because we wanted to challenge ourselves when we did a redesign of a new floating office space, that we didn't just go and buy new things, but that we actually chose responsible products, preferably products that were already in the loop, so that we didn't create new production, but also in the cases where we needed to get in new products, that we have chosen ones that comes from responsible producers, and also having a good lifespan and a focus on the next level after they have moved out of their current use. So and I have to say also this connects a lot with my way of living as well, because I've lived with a no new principle for many years in my own personal life. So in our family, in our home, we don't buy new clothes and we don't buy new furniture, except for in a few very specific occasions. But we have a focus on rather stimulating the reuse community. So yeah.
That's great. I'm so curious to ask, do you think that newly produced plastic has a role in our society going forward?
Well, I would of course like to say that optimally we should have enough plastic in the world already, so we shouldn't need to produce more virgin plastic. And then I'd like to pick up on Will's input as well. And what is really exciting, especially from both the ocean industry, but also the forest industries, etc. now, is that we can work on the alternatives to plastic to create stuff that comes from nature, that has a lot of the same capabilities on different functions as plastic have today, such as packaging, wrapping. Then I do think also that plastic is an amazing material, and we do need plastic for parts of what we do. But we should make sure to treat plastic as a very valuable and amazing material like it is. The problem with plastic isn't plastic, but it's the human beings' overconsumption of plastic. So I think that's the key issue here, is really to find out, where do we really need plastic, where we don't have any other solutions? Where do we have other solutions where we just have to work on the value chain and pricing and the market mechanisms? And where should we definitely ban it? Where is like the obvious, easy, quick fixes, where it's just like cut kind of the single-use aspects.
Yeah. That's such a good point. And Lars, this is something Ope knows a lot about. So do you have any comment on this?
Yeah, actually, people might wonder why I'm sitting here, talking about plastic in the ocean. Well, I make furniture from more conventional materials. And to be honest, 2 years ago, we did that without the concerns about the ocean. And then that didn't really, raise the hair on my arms to keep doing that and trying to push that product. So instead we said, let's change the goals of our company. And in alignment with my own values, which was, we need to do something. We need to do it now, because we're in a climate crisis and an environmental crisis with loss of nature. So we decided to say, our goal is going to be to clean up nature, and we're going to inspire others to follow. And our eyes were rested on the massive monster of plastic floating in the oceans, and we thought, well, let's start there, because that's easily available to clean up. And in relation to this whole plastic issue, and do we need plastic, do we want plastic, I have to say I'm being involuntarily drawn into a plastic industry because I see it as a huge problem. From a design perspective, it has been said that plastic is a a horrible design failure. And that is related to what we talked about in the beginning, that there is no alignment with the lifetime of the product and the material. So I would say we actually need to stop producing new plastic. I want to be the one who says that. And we need to use the plastic that's on the planet today, and we need to capture it, and we need to store it safely, because there is no exit for the plastic. It doesn't go anywhere. We have to get it stored in the human spaces more or less forever. And the plastic industry and the waste industry has more or less stolen the whole concept of circular economy, tying it to recycling, saying that recycling is the solution. Recycling is the last resort of the circular economy. And I love Birgit's, we don't buy things, we are about reuse, and reuse is what the circular economy is really about. So let's take that plastic and try to reuse it. And our solution to clean it up was that we had to make our own plastic material. We wanted 100% reclaimed plastic from the oceans, picked from the beaches, not the one that is old fishery equipment that has been in the ocean and is being recycled. We wanted the real deal. And to do that, we had to set up a completely new value chain. And we have established a spin-off company together with Vestre and environmentalist Rune Gåse. And that's Oguri, that you might have heard about, or if you haven't, you will hear much more about it in the future.
Yes, I have. Yeah, it's going to be so excited to follow you with this project. Okay, Birgit, a short comment. Do you agree with Lars? Instead of recycling, actually to make sure to use these products for a longer time?
I definitely do. And I do think that there is a huge problem with the way that we are raised in our modern society. A lot of the focus in our communities all around the world is that we want this kind of instant satisfaction, and we always want something new. So we're trained by the marketing and PR industry to just all the time want something more, want something new, instead of focus on kind of the core basic inner values. And I think that's kind of the one of the main issues here is also to kind of re-educate ourselves and look at more, what is it that really brings value into our lives, in our everydays? Is it to buy new shit? Or is it actually to focus on other things and then make sure that we try to live our lives using only the things that we really need and make very conscious decisions when we go in and either produce or buy something. And I would love to see a broader adoption, and I do think it's really coming as well, of also rethinking from the bigger industrial perspectives. Once we have built something like with Tool, our ship, our floating lab, it was built in the 50s as a ferry. Now it's a floating entrepreneur lab, which is converting from fossil to renewable. This is a kind of playing with our mindsets and stretching our imagination to rethink, what can we use something for, which wasn't the original purpose, but which now serves new purposes in a different world. So I think that's a really exciting approach, because it makes everyone have to, think together, think outside the box, and really kind of creating the future by adapting a whole new mindset, really, where it's about taking down our impact on nature, and also think that we live in a world with limited resources, and we need to also make sure that even though we have access to a lot of resources in our part of the world, we also want to make sure that the resources are distributed in a better way than it is today.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And maybe it's equivalent to the concept of redesign, which is so popular within fashion now. You can make dress out of a kitchen cloth and give it new life, Okay, one last comment from Will, because both we produce new goods, right? And the word recyclability is thrown around a lot these days. How you also mentioned it, and we also say it's recyclable. What does that mean, and do you think it's possible to? What's the value of that term?
So yeah, it's a great question. And I think before we talk about recyclable, we need to talk about recycled. You know, we've just spoken about how there are more than enough materials out there in the world to recycle and repurpose into new products. So, you know, looking at the amount of plastic out there, if I'm going to share a horror statistic with you, it's that by 2040, plastic production is expected to quadruple at the current rates. So if we do not seriously start to use the material that already exists out there for these applications, we're in serious trouble. So yeah, I think my point is that the priority is, can you create your product from 100% repurposed or recycled content? That's number one. It's something which we struggled greatly with from day one. Where we really struggled was actually getting a food grade material that was 100% recycled. So we're now for the lid of our product, we're trialing a 100% recycled polypropylene, which is food grade. We've also got 100% recycled stainless steel, ocean plastic. So basically the footprint of the product when you start is you're already using materials that were in circulation. And then you look at recyclability, right? It's no good taking those materials and then putting them into a product that cannot be recycled. It's literally, like I said, it's like you're just creating delayed landfill, in my opinion. So it's super important that we design for recyclability. So we do not use any composite materials in our product. It means that it can be taken like fully apart at the end of life and recycled into a new bottle or a sailing mast or, you know, whatever you like. So I think that's really important. And then yeah, finally on the durability aspect, that's obviously key. You know, we've designed our product to last 10 years, but we hope with sort of our repair scheme that it might even last 30 or 100. We had a kid who threw the bottle out of their car window at 70 miles an hour the other day, and it survived. so that was a good test of the product. But I think something fundamentally wrong with the family where the kid is throwing it out of the window. So that shouldn't be happening in the first place. But yeah, I think there's a lot to fix. So yeah.
Thanks for that. And I followed you from an early stage, and what I love is that you actually, I see progress. You know, you started with one part and you make it more and more recycled, and that's how it is. We need to start somewhere and then gradually, yeah, improve. Great. So
yeah,
I
think it's just such a good point. I think companies might think that they are sustainable. I think just because a product creates less damage does not in any shape or form mean that it's sustainable. You know, Lars said we cannot consume our way out of these challenges. So it's about continuously iterating to create true circularity.
Yeah. Thank you. So much knowledge in the virtual room. But let's go over to the next topic, which is best purchasing practices. Because every time a person or a company purchase a product or a service from a company, you actually invest in that company. You invest your money in that company. And as suppliers, we actually have a very unique perspective into selling sustainable products to companies. We are living proof that companies often don't choose ethically produced or sustainable products. They go for the cheap, non-sustainable products. So, Opa, from a supplier's perspective or producer's perspective, what needs to be in place for companies or consumers to choose buying your sustainable products over conventional products?
So yeah, let me talk about the business side of this, as we are still linear with the consumer. So I would oh, sorry, I don't find an English word for that. Berolige, calm Birgit's concern about not buying things. You don't have to buy it anymore. And for us to be able to supply our current, the space divider, in a sustainable way, we say you don't buy it. We own it, you rent it, we give it to you in the service model, we remodel it when you need it to be remodeled, we pick it down when you don't need it anymore, and then we redistribute it to new customers. Hi there. And we can do that again and again. So that's our way of solving it. And for that to be in place, you need actually customers who appreciate not owning stuff. That's also on in the business scale. If your core business is consulting, why do you invest your capital in furniture? That doesn't make sense. If you're not a transport company, why do you invest in a carpool? That does not make sense either. So I think that for a company to actually do that procurement in a sustainable way, stay with your core business and figure out what that is, and don't invest your money in all the stuff that you might need for a while, and then you don't need it anymore.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And what will it take for companies to develop a standard for ethical and sustainable procurement of goods, do you think?
For once, you need to know that there is a problem out there. So if you go around in the world not acknowledging the emergency of the planet, then you're not likely to go in and create solutions through your activities. I think that the values of the owners of the company actually is the key to anything a company does. And if they set their goals to make as much money as you can for me, then the whole company will go in that direction. Luckily, the circular economy and the regenerative, not maybe the regenerative solutions that we do currently, but at least connecting them with the circular economy makes it also very competitive, so that the commercial buyer gets the benefits both from the financial side and the ecological side by going for service-based models. So that's basically my solution to it. I have to say also that in the furniture sector, the public is now pushing the boundaries of this and moving into service-based models as a higher priority than buying. So the new practice of public procurement of furniture in Norway will be: 1, choose, do I need this stuff? 2, can I repair what I have? And 3, is it available for me in a service model? And then at the bottom of the list comes, can I buy a new thing? I don't think you will need to ever.
Yeah, I love that ending. What about you, Ocean Bottle? You also deliver B2B, right, to companies. So from a supplier's perspective, do you have any experience with companies that choose your products over non-sustainable products, or the other way around?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. You know, should companies pay a premium for sustainable and ethical products? I think the answer is yes. Whether or not they actually choose your product is a whole other thing. And I think for us, it was really important that the product not only be sustainable, but that we also create something that's better than the competition. So, you know, all you need to do is look to renewable energy. It's also better than the competition now. Like, renewable energy on average is cheaper than coal. And that's when you start to see, you know, a fundamental shift. So I think either we need to create services and products that are better than the competition, that also are sustainable, or the unsustainable alternatives have to be taxed so hard that the sustainable alternatives are chosen. But I do fundamentally also agree with Lars that if it's at the core of your company values, we're finally starting to see CSR initiatives not just be an add-on. Birgit was talking about ESG the other day. This is now a core agenda for many companies, and they're taking it seriously. So I hope that continues. I think it's important not just for companies, obviously, but also individuals. As consumers, you have a huge influencing power. It's okay as one, but when you add it up to 7 billion people or more now, that's when the real impact starts. So I cannot wait to see a global index on products and services and what footprint they create. Is it a class A? Is it an F or an X? Don't go there.
Yeah. And that's so great. And for us, we're in the textile industry, and it's about selling a product that's a little more expensive than the competition's. Our products can be more expensive than the competitor, and even though the competitor may use the same textile, the same fabric, So what's your experience with that, Will, with actually having a product that's a little more expensive than the competition?
Oh, that's a really hard question. I think it kind of comes down to storytelling a little bit. Can you communicate how important that impact is? So, the fact that you guys produce your products so responsibly and are creating jobs and empowerment, I think is so powerful. So if you can sell that message to the buyer that, hey, you're not just buying a product here, this isn't just merch. The merchandise industry is huge, and I think it has so many fundamental flaws. The kind of products that are bought, people use it for like a day for that event or conference, and then it literally just ends up in the trash. I think it's tragic. So I think, there's a huge opportunity for companies to really buy into and get behind your story and the impact you're creating. And I think the employees of that company would love that, and they would celebrate that, and it's really important.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's actually also a part that is it's really important to me, to make merchandise meaningful, not just consumption. And I think this leads perfectly over to you, Birgit, because that's why we actually connected to start with about Oslo Innovation Week, because you're coming from a company who actually insists on ethical and sustainable standards from all your suppliers. So tell me a little bit about that, or tell us about it.
Yeah, and I mean, this spans from a lot of the work that I did as a project manager of the business program for Oslo's European Green Capital, where we looked at innovative procurements and the responsibility from the B2B market. What we see and what we want to kind of inspire people on as a small startup for startups is really to look at how, one thing is what you do in your everyday day-to-day business. That's one part. You need to tick off the boxes, and you need to create your business in a good way. But I also do think that we have been underestimating the impact of our responsibility as the customers on like the big customers from the B2B market, where every action that we do take, whether it's about procurement of transportation, or if it's procurement of the food that goes into your business, or anything that you do with sub-suppliers, you have the opportunity to be driving change through others. And I think that's so important. When we see that companies now have to report on the SDGs, there are many ways to deliver on the SDGs. And one thing is, of course, what you do yourself. And then we know that a lot of the time that requires a lot of efforts, a lot of process internally, etc. A very much easier way to really push quicker, of course, is just to say that we as a company, we have some requirements to all of our suppliers. So then you basically go through every area where you are purchasing goods and services. And then you go in and look at what are the key challenges on the area of each of these suppliers. So for instance, on transportation, it's very easy. Do we choose a supplier for transporting goods and services that use fossil fuels, or do we go for one that delivers on renewables? So that's an easy check off. The other part that maybe is not so easy to look at is how they treat their workforce and the kind of the social inclusion. So for instance, do you then choose a company that just underpays people or are regular, or do you actually choose a company like, for instance, Medarbeiderne, who also delivers on social inclusion in the way that they proactively go in and hire and develop and educate people who are otherwise falling out of our work life? So whether it's onboarding and giving work to refugees or people with different needs, whether it's people with various kind of disabilities, or who comes from other parts of the world, etc. That's one really important part, because then you can tick off on a few boxes at the same time. So both on the physical, environmental part, but also on the social sustainability part. And for us, we did the whole drill, which was much easier as a new company because we didn't have all the old history and legacy. So we knew that we needed to have in suppliers on food and beverages. And then we scouted who are the ones who both combine vegetarian and eco-friendly type of food with short traveling time, like local produce, and ethical and social factors. And then when we look at another part that is super important, which really drives everything in the rest of the market, then we looked at the financial sector, because every company in Norway, at least, and in most of the Western world, you need to have some insurances and some pension schemes for your employees. And that's a lot of money. And those funds that they go into are some of the most powerful mechanisms on our planet. They control the world. So we also went in and looked at the indexes of which products and which actors are the best ones. And then we put our money on things that we have to buy anyway there. And then we also communicate out what we did so that others can also make that same conscious decision and don't have to reinvent the wheel. So that's just a few examples. And then we have also looked at the local kind of recycling of stuff on board or boat, like whether it's about reducing food waste or any kind of other output. So, I mean, I think for us, it's been both really motivating for everybody in our team and our partners, but it has also enabled us to really rethink kind of every step of the process of setting up a company and how much it can impact just to make conscious decisions and speak with others and really open up kind of the transparency of what are the key opportunities and the key challenges in various areas and industries that we are working with on the supplier side.
Yeah, and I think that must have probably had a very positive influence on the consumption overall as well. But I know that you have to go now. So you've told so much about your standard and what you demand from the suppliers. So to round up, if there is companies out there, they want to create a standard for ethical and sustainable procurement of goods. In practice, like how does it look like, the format? Like how do they go forward? Where do they start?
Well, I think probably Lars or Will knows a little bit more on that part as well. We haven't looked at kind of a framework standards, but I guess that exists out there. Because you have you have tracking, and there are new measuring tools coming in. So I guess on that part, from my side, we have just used kind of common sense and spoken with experts that we know. But I do think that there are some good checklists on this part. So maybe that's a good challenge for us to find and share that.
I think, yeah.
No.
Sorry, I was just going to add as well. I think Birgit hit the nail on the head. I think almost all of the environmental and social problems that we face today are as a result of supply chain. You know, people not knowing the effect of what they're buying in some far-flung place that is throwing CO2 into the atmosphere. Everything's so disconnected, and it's a pure result of a lack of transparency. You know, not having these opaque supply chains. So I think the first step is this sort of radical transparency of who am I sourcing from, who are their sub-suppliers, certification along the whole pathway. So, you know, even our factory are looking to they're trying to get B Corp now, which is pretty cool for a factory. And when we went out to visit,
and what is that?
B Corp.
What is B Corp?
Yeah, cool. So B Corp it's Benefit Corporation. So it's created by B Lab, and it's basically a certification standard where you get scored from 0 to 140, I think, and you have to have an 80 to pass. So it's actually quite difficult to pass, and it's but it still doesn't necessarily mean you're a good company. So I think, to be honest, we need much more than B Corp. I don't think it does it all. But you know, just as an example, the key thing here is also buyers putting pressure on their suppliers. It's not just about changing. It could be you have the purchasing power as a massive corporate to change them. So we asked our factory to install solar panels when we went out on the first visit, and 5 months later they actually installed 15,000 square meters of solar. And you know, we're a really small customer, so I don't know how on earth that happened, but you know, for the companies out there with bigger purchasing power, they can really influence big change, I think.
And I think that's such an important part, because I do think that very often it's not about like a negative mindset from the suppliers either. It's just that they didn't think about it. So we've had that same experience, that when we just the process of putting this on the table and initiating the discussion with suppliers actually inspires them again. And it's much easier for them to get the buy-in in the management team or whatever, if they can say that, hey, we have this request from a customer, whether it's small or big, something that is now coming in, which is not regulation, it's actually something that is related to our core business. And then it's much easier to just do the prioritization, because you will prioritize what your customers ask for.
Can I chip in there on the best practices and how to get there? I think, you know, you can create a lot of theory around it, but I think the key item is that you need to know where you're going, and you need to start walking. So nobody's perfect, and keeping in mind OPA's high ambitions on circularity, we are still using MDF in our panels, which we are going to replace with a sustainable material, but it's a process. So you have to accept that if you want to survive in this future where your competitors are OPA and the Ocean Bottle and oh God, I forgot the company name. Cecilia?
Better Living Project.
Better Living. Then you have to get started walking. And it's as easy as go out and pick an environmental problem you want to solve and figure out how you can do it through your core business. And don't disregard the externalities in other areas, which we see a lot of now in terms of fight against climate change. It's so easy to forget all the other environmental impacts that your activity can have. So we can't fight climate by ruining nature, for instance. But I think it's a true success story is that we're sitting here discussing this on the trajectory to actually do something good. And Opa's journey of the last 2 years have been to go from a more conventional material use to making our own 100% reclaimed ocean plastic. And then within a month, we're launching a product that takes that whole concept and packages it into one solution that will help you to get more productive in your workplace while constantly cleaning up the oceans through a service model.
I have to just round off, but I hope you continue the conversation a little bit. And I really look forward to our collaboration moving ahead. So enjoy the day. And I hope everybody out there gains some good inspiration to kickstart their initiatives. Thank you.
Bye, Birgit.
Bye, Birgit.
Yeah, I think that was a great point there, Lars. To me, it sounds like where to start. You know, you start with the values of the company. That's what you've said many times now, Lars. Every company, pick your values. And then what Birgit is pointing out is like start a dialogue with your suppliers. Just start it like somewhere, both ways, right? And then maybe you're ready for actually developing a standard for ethical and sustainable procurement of goods internally. Yeah.
Just like you mentioned, Will, your supplier making moves because of your asking for it is such a great impact. And size, you've proven that size doesn't matter here. It's the ideas that matter. And for us who have been building value chains, we see, you end up meeting people you never met before in industries that you never heard of. And then sharing those ideas and telling them, what I need from you is to do this. And then suddenly you open their eyes to a whole different universe. And the benefit of working with plastic is that there's a huge, not very sustainable industry there, just waiting to get solutions to get out of their mess, basically. And if we don't tackle plastic in that way, just say, I don't like it, I don't want to touch it, then they don't get the help they need either. So I think that is kind of, if there are people here, there are workplaces, there are people who also need a job in this new paradigm that we're building. So let's help them over it.
Yeah. And to shoot in something there too that's related to social sustainability is how we work with, of course, our sewing center, but we also work with other very ethical small textile factories who really cares about their employees. And I think that's something probably you also felt, Will, when you go there and you ask them you're from a whole different country, like industrial country, and you're like, yeah, do you please spend lots of money on solar panels, But what we encourage to all our textile factories is hiring more women. And we come there and we say, this is very important. Women needs a job much more than they do today. But it's that bridging that barrier of cultural difference too, to say it in a proper way, like have a proper dialogue from the very beginning, and be friends, basically, because then you can come and you can actually have open conversations about sustainable development. And it works. Great. So
cool. I just wanted to bring us back to the beginning again, which was what Lars said about we cannot consume our way out of these problems. I think that's so important. So whilst we're fixing supply chains, we also have to fix a very, very fundamental problem in society, which is just overconsumption of everything. So yeah, excited to see where that takes us as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we're old and grey, what will it look like?
Good question. Okay, so let's go over to our last topic about best practices on how suppliers ensure an ethical and sustainable value chain. We've touch on to this quite a lot, so this will be like a very good summary. But as suppliers, a production that considers the people and the planet is a process, like we discussed, and we need to pick our battles. We need to start somewhere. And for us in Better Living, we decided to start with the end of the production, the people who actually stitch the clothes, they stitch the garments. And to have our own little textile production unit, that gave us the control to actually ensure excellent working conditions, not just decent, not just regular, following the regular standards, they're actually excellent, you know. And I wanted to start with Ope. Please share one success or benefit that followed with ensuring social and sustainable production.
Well, wow. Are there other things than benefits of doing that? Is one question. To take the perspective of where we are moving away from, you know, the uncertainty of the impact of what you put to the market is really a huge positive consequence for a company, to get rid of that uncertainty, because you have actually you know your value chain and you care about it. So you can, we use something called EPDs, environmental product declarations, to monitor environmental impact. And these don't follow the ethical standards. They calculate the environmental impact, and they do it on a standardized basis. So it means that I can get my numbers there, but I can't really know where it came from, because that's generalized. So when we started a spin-off company to make materials out of ownerless marine plastic, we actually also implemented blockchain technology to track the material. And then you also track the story of the material. And then you also actually document where does it come from. And of course, when the source of the plastic is floating in the ocean, then that's the starting point. Somebody has to pick it up. Those are volunteers. And I think a success story from the future is that we actually value that effort of the volunteers to be the value that we are distributing and funding more cleanups with. So today, the value that is produced by the volunteers picking plastic in Norwegian is that we incinerate or landfill that plastic. And the stories get lost, and you don't get a chance to actually turn that value into profit to clean up more. So I'm not saying that we've done that yet, because we're launching together with Vested this fall the first product from this material. But when that is done, then we have the whole package included, and we know where it comes from, and we know that we keep high standards all the way along. So through our collaborators and also our own customers will be able to see the same thing.
Yeah, because I see you're wearing an Empower t-shirt, right?
I am, proudly.
So that's the blockchain technology we're talking about.
Empower is fueling the blockchain that we use to track the material from the beaches into a closed loop circular model.
Yeah. It's a great startup. I agree. Yeah. What about you, Will? What do you have a comment on this?
Yeah. So for us, our recent survey suggested that 96% of our customers bought the product because of its impact. So when we started the company, we built it as an impact company. It was sort of, we worked backwards from this is the impact it's going to create, and then what is it going to be, kind of the opposite way around, rather than kind of like retrofitting that model. So for us, obviously, that's kind of the core of what we do. And you know, the real issue that we face is that obviously plastic production continues to increase, and you've got a huge under supply of there's a huge plastic collection gap. So it's obviously contributing to massive amounts of plastic going into the ocean each year. So on average, it's around 22 million kilograms a day that goes into the ocean, which sort of means that by 2030, ocean plastic is actually expected to double. So we have a huge challenge ahead of ourselves. But I think by putting impact into the core of your business, like Lars is doing, and hopefully others will follow suit, I think we can solve some of these sort of massive environmental challenges.
I think that's a perfect wrap up of this conversation, actually. Thank you so much. So a last round, where can people support us? Where can they follow us? Will?
Yeah, for us, it's go to oceanbottle.co. So yeah, we're a new kind of company, so it's not .com. So, but yeah, go check us out on oceanbottle.co, and our Instagram is @oceanbottle. You know, just get involved, be part of it, share the mission, give us feedback. We love ideas to implement and create, and we love to collaborate. So I think that's kind of the main thing. We literally need everyone to get involved in these environmental and social solutions, and we have like a decade to fix everything. So come on, get involved.
Thank you, Will. Lars?
Yeah, so we are actually in the middle of changing our domain from .com to .echo.
Yay, even better.
You can currently find us at opework.com, but we are going to become ope.echo. So if you check out our Facebook, that is @ope.echo, and this is where we're going, obviously. And then I have to mention also Augury. Check out augury.echo. That's OGOORI.echo.
Perfect. Thank you, Lars.
And your website?
Don't forget yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not forgetting. It's betterlivingprojects.org. You can go and submit if you're a company that needs tote bags or t-shirts or textile products in general. And we're mostly active on Instagram, Better Living Projects. Thank you so much for this, and have a happy Oslo Innovation Week.
Thanks, and the same to you, and thank you for this wonderful conversation.
Thank you for a great session.
It was so great. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.